Hiya, it's Morag from Northwest Numbers Limited. I've been thinking today about the fact of all the things that we have to consider when we've set up some kind of organisation and we're responsible for people and products and all of that, and taxes and government and paperwork, and anyway. So yeah, I was kind of trying to think about all the things that as an organisation you're going to be thinking about, because obviously, high up in the list is things like fundraising, government changes, GDPR. I mean, that's a big issue as to whether or not you're doing it right and whether you're going to get in trouble. Cyber, internet problems, all of that, grant providers, and how in some cases people might see that things like doing your bookkeeping and that is like really small fry in comparison to all of those things that you're having to think about. But that's not the way I see it. I kind of see it that, I mean, I know there's a lot of headache that comes from government, that they throw a lot of regulation and stuff, and that means paperwork, regulations, do things right. And I think this is where, like, bookkeeping and getting it right, if you can get that right, it can kind of like reduce your headspace to let you think about the bigger things, because the smaller things, like your bookkeeping, are sorted. So, for instance, if you get your bookkeeping right, okay, in my opinion, it helps you with your budget, because if you know when and where and how your income and expenditure comes in, then it's easier to predict where it's going to be in the future. So that helps you with things like putting in funding bids, doing budgets, etc. So, secondly, things like tax preparation. If you've already been keeping up with your figures and keeping all your books and records, so basically when you're doing your bookkeeping, part of your bookkeeping is about keeping all your paperwork well organised so that you know where it is and you know what it's about, and then you're putting that into your accounts packages or Excel spreadsheet, however you do it. But basically you know that invoice relates to that expenditure or income, depending on which kind of invoice obviously, and that's where you've got it from, and that's what it's in for, or what you've spent it on. So as you're going through doing your bookkeeping, you're actually organising your paperwork and putting them in a way of filing so that they're easily found. And by being able to do that, when it comes to kind of like tax preparation at the end, it's all there. You've got your figures, but obviously, excuse me, you've also got all the paperwork that proves that your figures are right and where you've got them from and why you believe that those figures are correct. So, I mean, another thing is, if you can organise your paperwork so that you know where everything is, that helps you to logically understand and understand where your figures, your financial figures are produced. There's a lot of actual parties to the organisation that are actually interested in your bookkeeping. If you think about it, HMRC are interested because you're paying things like PAYE. They want their tax off you at the end, or you to prove that you don't owe tax. Your employees are going to be interested because they want to know that they can get paid, and they may be the loyalist of employees because they believe in what you're doing as a charity or whatever, but everybody has to live, so they still want to know that they can be paid. So they will be interested in your figures. Customers are definitely interested because they'll kind of want to know. I mean, especially if you're a charity, they're going to want to know that it goes on the good deeds that they're giving you the money for. They don't want it all going off in administration and stuff. And I know that's difficult because you need a lot of administrative people. There's a lot of background that goes on, and not many there's not always a lot of volunteers around. Investors, anybody that's giving you funding or investing money or lending you money, are going to want to see these figures again, to know that you're managing the money correctly, that you're spending it correctly, that you're using it the right way. If you can produce the information in a timely manner because you're already doing your bookkeeping on a regular basis, it avoids, well, like with HMRC, it avoids penalties and fees. I said from the HMRC, sorry, just bear with me one moment. Anyway, being able to provide your your funders, if they've given you a restricted fund, for instance, being able to provide your figures to your funders, you're able to, on a regular basis, again, you're able to prove to them that you're using the money correctly, which is actually possibly going to make them happier to give you money in the future as well. You've got all the paperwork behind it, etc., and there's no chance of them being able to stop the next lot because you haven't proved the last lot, type of thing, because again, you're up to date, you can give them the timely information. The other thing about bookkeeping is, if you're doing regular like management accounts equivalent, then again you're kind of managing to monitor the different aspects of what you're doing. So if you've got a different product going out, you can tell whether it's working for you. If you've got a different kind of project that you're doing with the charities, like you've set up a daycare centre, or you're something that maybe doesn't need an awful lot of capital put into it. I mean, you might be just setting up, helping people doing their shopping and things. You can find out where you are with the funds, whether you've got enough to continue. What can you expand what your project is, because you're managing to actually cover the costs plus some. Can you grow your project? Is there a requirement for it? Do people want it? Is it something that you've kind of trialled, but actually it turns out nobody really needs it or wants it? So again, by keeping your figures up to date and knowing what's happening with the expenditures and the income, you can kind of monitor that on a daily, weekly, monthly, as regularly as you decide to do basis, so that you can make those decisions and move forward with either growth or potentially having to cut something out because you can't afford to keep going with it. But at least you know at the earliest opportunity that it's not going to work. Or the other side of it is it that you need more funding for it? So again, at the earliest opportunity, you know that you need to go out there and start trying to find some more money. And potentially the fact that you've got your figures gives you the chance to present where you already are with what you're doing to new funders, so that they can see, yeah, you're kind of like, you're hitting the targets, you're getting there, you just need that little bit of extra help or money. So it helps with like the analysis and then decision making. Obviously, as far as decision making is concerned, that also means planning purposes, because if you're planning things, if you have a growth, if you have a surplus of the income, then you can start thinking about the next stage of what you want to do. You can make plans for the future. As far as we talked a little bit about the reporting to investors, and obviously I talked about restricted funds and the monitoring them appropriately, etc. So obviously they want to know that the investors want to know that you're using their money right, and that potentially if it's a profit making business, they want to know that their investment is good and that they're going to make money out of it. So that's useful for being able to get future investment or future funding, because you've got a track record and you can prove it because you've got all the figures there. Okay. You can help. It helps. Your bookkeeping helps with financial management. It shows that you actually have taken control of your monies. You're able to show how your money is being spent and that it's being spent wisely. You can show that your debts are being controlled. You know who owes you and when it's due in. And also the same thing on the other side with your bills. You know that you can pay them on time if needed, because you know what your cash balance is and what's due to be paid in the next week, day, month. And I think a big thing about bookkeeping, if you do keep it organised and keep it up to date, then that means that you can actually get peace of mind. I mean, obviously if you outsource it, then you're not having to think about that yourself. And hopefully if you've got confidence in your bookkeeper, then that gives you peace of mind right away. But even if you're doing bookkeeping yourself, if you can keep it up to date and you know that your figures are there, you know what's happening, you know whether you've got the money there, you know whether something's going to be able, that you've got the money there to be able to pay your future bills, to be able to continue with the projects that you want to do, the products you want to do, etc., or that you can expand, then that in itself kind of gives you peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind that you know that your figures are there, so that if at any time any of your funders or the HMRC or anybody decide that they want to have a look at it, you've got everything organised, you've got everything up to date, the books are there, and you've got nothing to worry about, because you know that you're ready for them if anybody decides that they need to come and see your books. So hopefully that then takes off the extra stress from you. You can also you can start tracking the kind of how your money goes in and out, and that helps in the prediction, which we were talking about before with the planning. You can track whether you're going to have a profit or available surplus, possibility of growth, and you can start, as you build up your figures, you can start comparing periods, so it allows you to kind of know whether things have changed and kind of analyse, think about why would I'm expecting this to have come in, why has it not happened, or there's an expenditure there that's not gone out, I better chase it, maybe it's been forgotten about. It could be important, it could be something like your insurance that, you're going to have a fire, you have a fire the next week, but you've not replaced your insurance. But, I mean, I don't want to be a scaremonger or anything, but it just kind of helps you know what's gone in, what's gone out, and what's due, basically. It means as well, if you can keep your bookkeeping up to date, you know that bottom balance, you know your cash figure. Basically, if your bookkeeping is up to date, you know your current cash balance, what debtors need to be chased, and what suppliers are due. So I believe that by doing bookkeeping and keeping it up to date, it can save you money in the long run, with saving any kind of penalties or anything like that. It can definitely save you time if it's done efficiently, because rather than waiting and trying to do it all at the last minute when you can't find the paperwork, etc., then it saves you the time to, if you can organise it in a controlled way, and it saves you the headache and stress of wondering whether things are being done correctly and exactly what position your business is in or your organisation. So I hope that's been helpful, and I will talk to you again. As I say, my name's Morag and I run Northwest Numbers Limited, and you can get in touch with me at accounts@northwestnumbersltd.co.uk, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay? Take care. Thank you.